Hand someone $20 in cash and ask them to spend it, and you'll watch them hesitate over small things. Do I really need this coffee? Let them swipe a card for the exact same $20, and that hesitation almost disappears. Same money. Same amount. Completely different feeling. Nothing about the value changed. Only the visibility did. The card itself has surprisingly little to do with it. What's actually driving that gap is something researchers call the pain of paying, a real, measurable psychological discomfort that shows up when we spend money, and one that changes dramatically depending on how visible that spending is to us in the moment. It's not a metaphor. It's a measurable response, and it behaves less like a mood and more like a reflex. The pain of paying was first studied in detail by behavioral economists looking at why people spend differently across payment methods even when the amount and the purchase are identical. What they found was that physical cash produces the strongest, most immediate discomfort. You can see the bills leave your hand. The stack gets visibly smaller, and that physical reduction registers almost like a small loss in real time. That loss signal is the same neural machinery that fires when you lose something you own, and it fires whether the amount is $20 or $200, scaled roughly to the size of the loss. Credit and debit cards break that connection. The swipe is fast, the confirmation is a beep or a tap, and there's no physical object getting smaller in your hand. Digital payments, a saved card on a shopping app, a one-click checkout, a tap-to-pay watch break the connection even further. Some of these systems are specifically designed to remove as many steps as possible between the desire to buy and the completed purchase. And every step removed is also a moment of potential hesitation removed. One-click checkout in particular was patented specifically because removing that single click measurably increased completed purchases friction, it turns out, was never a design flaw. It was the last thing standing between a thought and a transaction. This matters more than it sounds like it should, because the pain of paying isn't just an emotional side effect, it functions as a built-in spending brake. In a now classic MIT study, researchers Drazen Prelek and Duncan Simister offered participants the chance to bid on the same sold-out basketball tickets, telling half of them they'd be paying in cash and the other half by credit card. The cash bidders topped out around $28 on average. The credit card bidders went as high as $60, more than double, for the exact same tickets. A separate, more everyday scale analysis by Dun & Bradstreet found people spend roughly 12 to 18% more on ordinary purchases when paying by credit card instead of cash. The gap holds up across income levels and across product categories, from groceries to electronics, which suggests it isn't about affordability at all, it's about how the act of paying feels in the moment the money leaves. For years, researchers debated whether credit cards mainly work by releasing the brakes, reducing the pain of paying, or by stepping on the gas instead. A 2021 brain imaging study led by MIT Sloan's Drazen Prelek and University of Utah's Sachin Banker found evidence for the second explanation. Credit card purchases activate the brain's reward network in a way cash purchases simply don't, creating something closer to a craving than a calm, pain-free decision. In other words, cards don't just numb the discomfort of spending. They actively make spending feel good in a way cash never quite manages to. The two explanations aren't actually competing so much as compounding. Less pain plus more pull adds up to a much bigger gap in behavior than either mechanism could produce on its own. There's also a timing element that makes this worse. Credit cards separate the moment of purchase from the moment of payment, sometimes by a full month. That gap means the discomfort of paying doesn't happen when the decision is being made, it happens weeks later, disconnected from the specific choice that caused it, folded into one large, vague statement balance. By the time the pain would normally show up, it's attached to a total number instead of any single purchase, which makes it almost useless as a behavioral signal. Psychologists sometimes call this decoupling, severing the moment of consumption from the moment of payment, and it's the same underlying mechanism that makes an all-inclusive vacation feel more relaxing than one paid for meal by meal, even at an identical total cost. Paying once, in advance. And never again is almost always less painful than paying in 100 small increments, even when the 100 increments add up to less money. Subscription services take this even further. Decoupling payment from consumption almost entirely, the monthly charge happens automatically, on a fixed date, regardless of whether the product was used once or 30 times that month. Which means the pain of paying and the moment of use may never coincide at all. Consider two people buying the same $85 jacket. One pays in cash, counting out the bills at the register, and feels a small, immediate twinge enough to make them briefly reconsider whether they actually needed it. The other pays with a card linked to an account they rarely check, and feels almost nothing beyond mild satisfaction. A month later, when the statement arrives, the $85 is just one line among dozens, indistinguishable in feeling from a $4 coffee. The cost was identical. The psychological experience of spending it was not. Multiply that gap across a year of ordinary purchases, and the two people end up with meaningfully different spending totals, even though both would describe themselves as roughly equally careful with money. This is precisely why so many modern payment systems are built to minimize friction. Removing the pain of paying isn't a side effect of convenience for many products, it's the actual design goal. Because friction is one of the few things reliably known to reduce spending. Every step a checkout process removes saved card details, biometric confirmation, one-tap approval is a step that used to give the brain a brief window to register discomfort before the transaction completed. Modern commerce has spent 2 decades systematically closing that window, one convenience feature at a time, and each closed window has a measurable effect on how much gets spent. None of this happened by accident. Somewhere, a product team measured the exact impact of removing a single click, and the results were good enough to justify removing the next one, and the one after that. You don't need to switch back to an all-cash life to use this. The insight is about deliberately reintroducing friction into the specific categories where you tend to overspend using cash, or a separate card you have to consciously check only for those categories. The goal isn't to make spending harder everywhere. It's to make it feel real again in the exact places where invisibility has been quietly working against you. Some people find it useful to withdraw a fixed cash amount for exactly one problem category dining out, for instance, and once that envelope is empty, the spending stops because there's no invisible reserve left to swipe against. Another version of the same idea, check your account balance manually right after a purchase, instead of letting the app do it silently in the background. That small, deliberate glance recreates a sliver of the visibility that cash provides automatically, without requiring you to carry cash at all. The pain of paying was never a flaw to design around. It was a signal, a small, uncomfortable checkpoint asking, "Are you sure?" before money left your hands. Most modern payment systems have gotten very good at silencing that signal, and most of us never ask them to stop. Making invisible money patterns visible again is what this channel does every week. One behavioral quirk at a time, stick around for the next one. Think about the last purchase that felt suspiciously easy. Was it actually a good deal or just an easy swipe, dressed up to feel like one?